You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Thank you for joining me and Ryan Tejas. Ryan, greetings.
Hello. Hi.
I'm happy that you've chosen to listen to this podcast today. A lot of people are loyal listeners out there, my lovable patrons that love the show and support it and supporting it for years and making it possible for us to continue recording. And if you want to become a patron and support the podcast, if you like it and you want to support a podcast you like, patreon.com/insideofyou, patreon.com/insideofyou. I'll send you a message. There's a lot of perks. You get shout outs every episode on the podcast. You get to ask questions, and there's merch boxes and Zooms and YouTube lives and merch discounts and a bunch of stuff. It's really a more so a family oriented platform for friends, people who like a community. It's not just supporting the podcast, but it's an amazing community. I didn't really say that articulately, but I don't care. Just to tell you a few things before you fast forward. Tom and I will be in DC September 27th. And the weekend before that, we're in Salt Lake City. We're doing an event like the Tom and Michael show, and we read scripts, and it's a blast. Get tickets to those events. You could go to my link tree on Instagram. It's a link, and it will tell you everything I'm doing, cameos, Patreon. And most importantly, I'd like to talk about the live podcast. If you like the show, you want to support it, or if you're in the area in Los Angeles on October 11th, 7 p.m. at the Regent Theater, it's me and Zach Levi. It's the Inside of You podcast live for the first time ever. So far, tickets are doing all right. We're selling tickets.
Nice.
You know,
cool.
I said, gosh, I hope 50 people come. But honestly, I mean, if 150 people came, I'd be happy, right?
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome, man.
Jesus.
So look, get tickets. There's also a meet and greet with Zach and I. If you want to come to that, it's October 11th, 7 p.m. Get your tickets on the link tree in my bio. And if you want to support this podcast, continue to do so. The handles, Ryan.
At Inside of You Pod on Twitter, at Inside of You Podcast on Instagram and Facebook.
That's correct. And you could write a review, which really helps the algorithms and all that stuff. Great guest today. In fact, Bryce, my producer, emailed me and said that this was one of his favorites. This is really a kick-ass episode. And I remember it being good, but I don't remember it being like, because when you're in it, you don't really think about that stuff. In fact, I forget everything.
Yeah. And
apparently we went really deep. And Anthony was so kind. And what's funny is he came here a week early by accident. He goes, hey, Anthony. I go, I don't know an Anthony. It's Anthony LaPaglia. Hey, hold on a second. I went downstairs. He's like, yeah, I'm here for the podcast. I'm like, yeah, it's not till next week. He goes, oh, all right, I'll come back. I go, you're going to come back, right? He goes, yeah, I'll come back. He's so cool and so like, he's just got his own thing, man. I wish I was that cool. I wish I was half as cool as Anthony LaPaglia.
I need a cool name like Anthony LaPaglia.
Michael Rosenbaum.
Well, if you say it like that, it sounds cool.
Michael Rosenbaum, Anthony LaPaglia in
Michael Manns.
The City Never Sleeps. I bet there's been a movie called that. All right.
One or two.
Great episode. I hope you enjoy it. We talk about everything Without a Trace, Empire Records, everything. He's an open book, and I think you're going to really like it. So without further ado, let's get inside of Anthony LaPaglia.
It's my point of view. You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum.
Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum was not recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Hey folks, wanted to highlight something important before today's episode. In case you weren't aware, myself and many of the guests are on strike alongside SAG-AFTRA and WGA. Today's episode and any we air before the strike ends were recorded before it began. So this is just a heads up in relation to some for the topics we may discuss. If you want more info on the strike, visit sagaftrastrike.org. Now let's get into it.
To be honest, this is the first real kind of podcast I've ever done.
Is that true? Are we rolling? Mm-hmm. Did you hear that? We got that, what he just said. This is really like the first podcast?
Yeah, this is the first podcast I've ever done.
Why?
I don't know why I said yes to you.
I think because of Larson Thompson, who
Yes,
you worked
that's exactly why. Because I really like her. She's a good kid.
with. Yeah, what did you work with?
It's tough though, because the guy I made the movie with, I've known him for 30 years, the
Right.
director, writer.
Right.
And I did stuff with him when I was very young. And I don't know, as time went on, we stayed friends, but I wasn't going to do this movie.
Right.
But his actor, he asked me about someone else, and I was telling him, oh, yeah, I'll ask for you.
Pearl.
He told me a bit about it, but to be honest, the last time we had worked together, it had started to get a bit strained.
Ty. Talking about Ty West?
The director was Bobby Ross. And look, we were friends for a good chunk of time. And we're still friends, but stuff happens in life, and you kind of, I don't know, either you see things more clearly or you see things that you ignored before. You could say the same thing about me. I don't know. He wouldn't. He's an incredibly nice man, but he's an oversharer.
You know?
He's an oversharer. And the things that I don't need to know, and the things that like make it hard for me, you know. But hey, it's just an overshare with me. He has a blog where he overshares with everybody. I've never asked him about it.
When you say overshares, what do you mean? Because Ryan, when you say I overshare,
No, you share. You're open, but I think there's a line that you don't cross.
Right, this
Oversharing.
line gets crossed.
Yeah.
like he's in Dragoon. He's a tap dancer in Dragoon. He's like, he overthinks everything, and he journals everything that happens, and some of it is like, bro, just roll it back. I mean, I'm glad you want your life to be an open book, but it's like I had to stop reading them. You'd send them to everybody. It'd be a big blast out, you know.
is it one of those things where, like, I remember I was at Disney World with my family, and I was videotaping everything. And my uncle goes, why don't you just enjoy real life?
This is my whole thing, okay? Because I'm from the generation, I'm an old fucker now. So, you know.
You're not that old.
Yeah. It's 60, 64, 63, 64.
You look good.
Yeah, all right. You know, formaldehyde does wonders. And so they got me out of the vat this morning. And so, I grew up in the era. I don't want to sound like when I was growing up, they had the Model T. But I grew up in an era where there was no cell phones. I mean, there wasn't a flip phone. There was your parents' avocado green or burnt orange phone with a rotary. And
Long cord.
Long cord. And there's one line in.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I was on the phone when my old man got home, it was get off. You know, there was no privacy. And so it's such a different world now. And I look at it more from like a science project, because I have a 20-year-old daughter who's never known not having iPhones around. She's never known that.
I think you haven't, have you?
I was born in 1988, so
Okay, all right. You're not that young.
Yeah,
Fuck
my daughter was
off.
born a lot
Still
later.
young.
My daughter was born a lot later than that, 20 years ago. She just turned 20, and so she doesn't know. And so she would genuinely sit there and say to me, "How did you ever get anything? I mean, how did you ever go to a party? How did you ever, know what was going on?" I said, I was young, I was dumb, and I was really happy. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And I'd run into somebody when I was, younger, a teenager, whatever. I'd run into somebody on the street and they go, "Hey, there's a party Friday night or Saturday night. It's here, be there, whatever." And
You just showed up.
if I remembered, because somewhere between Tuesday and Saturday, there were so many other options, I probably didn't go or forgot it or whatever.
Right.
But if I did end up going, there were quite a few times you showed up and the party wasn't there anymore. And she said, "Well, what would you do?" I'd say, "Well, I just, whatever party was going on there wasn't the original one, but I would just go into that." and just chill out.
That was the time. There was something fun about that. Like my friends would say, "Hey, you want to go see that movie tonight? I'll meet you there at 7."
Yeah.
And you hope they're there.
And sometimes they don't show. And that, to me, actually was more exciting than the people I was actually going to see, I think. And but this was when I was living in New York, right? So a bit easier on the street there. So the jungle drums went out, and I lived in East Village, West Village. So I'd always run into somebody who knew somebody who was throwing the party or whatever event it was, or, when I say party, I mean, that's really kind of a loose term. It was basically a bowl of cocaine. And this is in the 80s and 90s.
Really? So you saw a lot of that.
Oh, man.
Everybody was doing it.
I would walk into some place, and in fact, if I didn't know if the people that invited me weren't there, it was no problem, because there would be dirt broke. So I would walk in there, and 9 times out of 10, there wouldn't be just like some cocaine there. There would be a bowl of cocaine that looked like a little tip of Mount Everest in the middle of the table, and nobody was guarding it. So you just help yourself.
So you got involved in you kind
Absolutely. In fact, when I left the party, I was broke. So when I left the party, I would find a piece of paper somewhere, fold it up, and then kind of shave the top of the bowl off and put it into the paper.
Save it for later snacking.
Absolutely. I absolutely would save it for later. Or if somebody else, a friend of mine, wanted some, I wouldn't sell it to them because I stole it. I stole it. I mean, if I'd have stayed there long enough, I probably would have done it. But
did you have an addictive personality? Were you someone who just kind of did it when you did it, but did you ever have a problem?
Do you know, for many years, I did not. For many years, same with alcohol. Even now, I can drink. I don't drink that much because I don't get that much enjoyment out of it, because I find it very hard to get drunk. So I can drink 3/4 of a bottle of mezcal, and I'm fine. And everybody else around me, I realize, is completely fucked up, because I drink it straight up. Look, I don't. And same with vodka.
Is that just the Australian blood?
No.
What is that?
Because I'm an Itai. I'm an Italian. And Italians are not notoriously big, not competent drinkers. They're not. They have a couple of glasses of wine and they start crying about their dead mother and and all the things that went wrong in their life. They're very emotional. And I have a very even thing. The thing with cocaine that's really, for many years, I was just a recreational user. I couldn't afford it. So if I found it, I would use it or whatever. I couldn't afford to actually buy the stuff. Even back then, when I think it was like, a nickel a bag or something, it was pretty cheap. And
before the fentanyl.
And at the risk of sounding like such an old asshole, were way better. All the drugs were way better.
Because they were pure.
Man, I tried everything,
Heroin?
It's the one, I did it accidentally.
You accidentally put a needle in your...
No. It was powdered.
Right.
And I was in a dark room, and it was kind of a beige color. And I didn't realize, I thought it was coke. So,
how much did that mess you up?
It didn't too much. I went to sleep. That's all.
I smoked heroin by accident too. I know everybody's thinking, oh yeah, Anthony accidentally did it. Michael accidentally
Well, I never did it again.
I never did it again
I was
either.
afraid of that drug.
But I did it. I smoked something, and afterwards I started feeling really weird. And my buddy goes, yeah, they laced it with a little heroin. I go, what? And I remember this sensation of like the best feeling I've ever had. And then it turned into me puking on the streets.
Well, that's the thing. It usually it's the other way around. You puke first and then have the best feeling you ever had. You seem to have the reverse.
Yeah, it didn't sound
well,
great.
I was always scared of certain drugs like that.
Yeah.
And it was the needle aspect. I don't like needles.
No.
I don't like that.
You go down that road.
I like drugs that are like, but back then, you had like a couple choices. You had coke, you had benzos, and you had
pot.
I never liked pot. I never smoked it. Whenever I smoke it, this is what happens to me because my daughter loves a puff. And I've tried her stuff. Jesus Christ, this stuff is so strong.
Yeah.
I get That's what happens to
Paranoid.
me. I get paranoid. I get on the couch. I pull the blanket over my head, and I lay there till it's over.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Inside of You is brought to you by Prize Picks. If you are just, sitting around, want to do something fun, testing of your knowledge, you don't even have to know anything about sports, really. I don't know anything about sports. And yet I'm winning money on this Prize Picks, and it's pretty amazing. Prize Picks, listen to this. I'll get into what I'm doing here. Prize Picks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. One of the easiest and most exciting ways to play. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more or less than on 2 to 6 players' stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Now, what does that mean? It's so easy. So the other day, I had a pitcher. I picked 2 players, a pitcher from one team, pitcher from the other team. It said, do you think he'll get more or less than 4 strikeouts? I go, I looked up his stat. He's not a very good pitcher. I want to say less than. The other pitcher, I go, oh, I know that guy. Yeah, his last start, he had like 9 strikeouts. I'm going to say he's going to go over that, over the 5 or 4 or whatever. I've won 3 times out of 5. I'm rolling. It's pretty incredible. This Prize Picks, I'm having a lot of fun on this, and I know you will too. Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch, includes college football, pro hockey, basketball, the list goes on. Players can choose from a vast selection of sports and stat types not offered anywhere else. They can even pick in-game projections after a game is started, which includes halves, quarters, periods, and more.
Prize Picks is the most fun you'll have, winning up to 25 times your money this football season. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry.
If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. I have the app. It's so simple. I press it every once in a while. I go, oh, here are the sports. I like this sport. Let's go to this sport. Boom, I'm there. And then I go, oh, let's pick the pitchers. Oh, I don't want to go runs in the first inning. Or it's all there. It's all simple. And you can turn your money into a lot more money. And it's fun. I really love this thing. And I hate you, Prize Picks, because I'm really enjoying this.
How much have you won so far?
Let's see. I start out with 100 and I'm at 210.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
right?
pretty cool. Yeah.
I'll show it to you.
Okay.
You gotta try this.
All right.
Go to prizepicks.com/inside and use code INSIDE for a first deposit match up to $100. That's go to prizepicks.com/inside. Use the code INSIDE for a first deposit match up to $100.
Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Prize Picks is available to residents 19 plus in so many states like California, Arkansas, Arizona. The list goes on. If you want to have some fun, it's time you choose Prize Picks. This message is sponsored by Discover. Did you know you could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection? The latest innovation from Discover. Discover will help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And they'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection. Yeah, I'm not a big pot smoker. I don't drink much. We were talking about smoking. I'm trying to stop doing that. It just became like a little bit of a habit. I'm like, what the hell?
You should do the little black ones too. What were they called?
Cloves?
No. There was a black kind of a gel thing that you would pop. Lewd, not lewds. Yeah, maybe lewds.
Maybe a lewds. I've never had a lewd.
Yeah.
That's so 70s,
Oh,
bro.
man.
80s lewds.
Do you know what happened?
man.
And ecstasy was excellent.
Ecstasy was back in the day.
No. No. I didn't try ecstasy until the 90s. And I actually was in San Francisco. I'm not going to say what I was doing, but I was doing a movie in San Francisco. And somebody said, oh, you got to try this. It's called X. Because all the pills were marked with an X.
Right.
And so I went, sure, I'll try that. And honest to God, it was like the best feeling ever.
And you can't ever get that feeling back.
Well, it's not just that. I did get it back a few times in San Francisco.
But you feel like shit for a few days.
No,
Jeez, you are like nothing phases this guy.
no, I like
Except kidney stones.
Kidney stones got me this week. Yeah, stuff like that gets me, like old man shit.
But what is kidney? I heard kidney stones is like as bad as pregnancy.
I would never insult a woman by saying it must be what it's like to give birth, but it's what it must be like to give birth. It's
How? What
I
hurts?
could not. Well, you know, where your kidneys are, you're passing one or two little rocks. They're only small.
How many times has this happened to you?
This is my second time in my whole life.
Do you have to go to the hospital?
The first time I did, this time I knew what it was. And so I knew I had to just ride it out until they dissolve or pass or whatever.
But it's bad pain.
It's like you cannot move pain. And it's unrelenting. And I apologize to any women watching who've had children, but I really empathize. It must be a fifth of what they go through.
Yeah.
But if it's anything like that, you guys,
What causes it? Do we know?
yeah, I don't really want to say. It's kind of like, no, it is related to diet, and I'm notoriously bad with drinking water. Like I should be drinking,
You want a bottle?
Yeah, thanks.
Drink some more.
But I you're supposed to drink like 8 glasses a day
I never
and
do
all
that.
this stuff, and
My grandmother will be 95 in June.
she drinks
Blanche.
scotch every day.
No, she goes like this. You need to drink more water. I haven't drank water in 95 years. Why? Look at me. Do I need water?
You look at her and go, a little bit.
You look a little
A
dehydrated.
little bit. Your skin's a little dry. But, and when I do drink, you know what it is? It just like, I know it's great and everything, but it bores me.
Yeah.
Just drinking it, I start to like nod off. Worst
Drinking water, I nod off. I'm so bored with water.
So bored with water. And,
I think that's amazing.
and so, but recently, because I've been a horror story the last 5 years in terms of diet and all that stuff.
Why is that? Do you think that's psychological? Do you think that's sort of maybe depression? Do you think it's anxiety? Do you think it's like, kind of just a phase?
No, I think it can be all those things, and it can be all those things at the same time.
Because I deal with it too, with the smoking and the things because I'm self-destructive.
Right. Well, smoking I just seem to go from one habit to another, and then kind of solve that. And then smoking was my other big vice that I did for many years, and I tried so many times to quit. I quit. I remember once I quit for a year. Somebody said, "Go and see this." He's quite famous. You won't mind me plugging him because he has quite a success rate. Going on Kerry Gaynor, and Kerry's hilarious.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, Kerry's hilarious. He looks like a little bird. He sits on this chair and his feet dangle from the chair, and he's got like a big head of hair.
And he's a hypnotist.
He's a hypnotist. He's very intense, and I was like, you listen. I'm not susceptible to hypnotism. Blah 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 blah. To be fair, the first time he did me, I was like, I'm not susceptible. I was out. It actually kind of worked, and I saw him like 3 or 4 times, and I quit smoking, which everybody was completely shocked that I quit because I was on 2 packs a day. So I'd quit for a year, and then I was how the mighty fall. I was doing a movie in New York, and we're shooting in the Bronx, but I mean like they're really in the projects in the Bronx.
Yeah.
And they did not want us there because we were interfering with the drug trade and whatever else was going on there. And so we had to wear hard hats to the set because they'd be throwing shit out of the windows. All those big high-rise buildings they have, and throw them out of the window, and you'd be ducking stuff. They weren't happy to have you there. So we had to get some guy with a gang leader to go in and negotiate with them to like not do it while we were shooting. Anyway, it was.
But you started smoking again there?
Well, no, it wasn't that so much. It was a small budget, and it was really a tough schedule. And maybe one. I've done so much stuff. I think I've only ever had issues with the director 3 times, maybe. And this was one time.
And it was a big one.
It was what, the issue?
The issue?
Yeah, a little bit. We were just, okay, here's what happened. Here's when, you know, I was doing it was with Viola Davis. And before she was, you know, Viola. She's massive now.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy for her because she's one of the nicest women I ever worked with in my life. Anyway, we're doing this movie and it was pretty low budge. And I was doing a scene with Viola and the director kept, the scene would stop and he'd say, oh, can you do it? Can you do it again? And I'd be like, sure, what do you want? Because I'm pretty much like that. I don't mind. I love direction.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't say specifically what he wanted.
Just do it again.
Just do it again. And I thought, well, maybe it'll be different this time. So I would do it again. And this happened about 4 times. And then I said to him, listen, I mean, you got to be more specific. I keep doing it and I don't know what you want. And he was very frustrated. And he said, I just want you to do it the way...
Oh, boy.
The way the guy that did the auditions did it in the auditions.
You mean the guy who reads?
That reader, yeah.
The reader?
The reader, yeah.
This is what he says to an established
He
actor.
was very frustrated, and this is what he said. It came out, look, I could see it flying. You know, like something's flying out of people's mouths, and they're desperately trying to get him back.
Are you a mind reader? First of all.
No, but that came out of his mouth. And I said to him, well, look, we're about a week in. You can always get him. Get him, and he can do it. You know, if he was reading the lines better than me, then I suggest you get him. I don't want to screw up your movie. I don't get upset by stuff like that. So I just suggested he get the other guy. And it kind of went downhill from there. And
Oh, man.
I know.
I've had.
But you know, Hayden Panettiere was in it. It was a good cast.
What was it called? Do you remember?
Not saying.
That's all right. It's a while back. Now, let me ask you this. Oh, but continue because it had to do with smoking, right?
Yeah. And so on that movie, one night, you know, things were a bit tough during the film. And the other guy, I think, was continually doing it better than me, the guy from the reading. And so one night, it's very late, like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'm on the rooftop of one of the project buildings, and it's just me and a guy, a grip, is wrapping up cable, and I see him just like light up cigarette, and I looked at him and I said, "You got a spare one?" In my head, I'm going, "I'm just gonna have one.
That's the thing.
It's not gonna hurt."
That's it.
From that one, I was back on a pack within a week.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, after 1 year not smoking. So then, you know, went back
So addictive. It's so
back on the smoking treadmill.
good. God.
And then finally,
Yeah, what caused you to stop for good?
I had I was in an induced coma for about 5 days.
What?
Yeah.
What happened?
I don't know. I really don't know.
You just went into a coma.
I was fine, and then I woke up in hospital
When was this?
4 or 5 years ago.
That's got to be the most terrifying thing for you, your family.
Oh, it was not good. It was just after my wedding.
You had just gotten
I
married,
just got married.
and you went into do you remember where you were when this happened?
Apparently, I was in the house that we got married in Hawaii, and was in the house in Hawaii. And the night before, it had gotten a bit rowdy, and I'd been throwing some relatives out of the house because they were behaving badly. And I got a bit tired, and I lay on the couch apparently and went to sleep. And it just looked like I was sleeping. And then my now wife noticed that I should have woken up by now, and I hadn't. So they, cut a long story short, I ended up in a hospital in Hawaii, and I was in an induced coma for 6-7 days, something like that.
Inside of You is brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp Online Therapy. How are you guys not doing this? This is, with the world the way it is, the stigma, there's not stigma on therapy anymore. Everyone's talking about mental health and life, and this is good. And this means that you deserve therapy for your life, in your life. It should be a part of everyone's life, if you ask me. It's helped me substantially. And, you could talk about so many things. And if you don't, they get bottled up. And unfortunately, when they get bottled up, things start to manifest and they become some other things. And, if you just keep talking to someone as a professional, not me, but talking to a professional, you'll see the benefits quickly. Anxious thoughts, sometimes they don't seem like they're going to go away. And when you're trying to go to sleep, your mind's racing. When you're on a date, you're anxious. There's all these things, but talking through them with a licensed therapist through BetterHelp really will help you. Ryan, you still work with BetterHelp.
I do. And it's been good. It has been good for me.
Yeah, I noticed. You're calmer.
I always feel better coming out of it. I mean, I had one yesterday, and that usually supports me through, until the next time I talk.
Yeah, and you always feel like you have nothing to talk about it, and by the end, you're like, I can keep talking.
Always. Every time.
Therapy and BetterHelp give me a place to get out of my negative thought cycles so I can find some mental and emotional peace. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's all done online. Just fill out a questionnaire, which takes you a minute, and get matched with a licensed professional, a therapist. But you can change them if you don't like them at no additional charge. It's so easy. It's convenient. It's flexible. It works to your schedule, folks. Get a break from your thoughts with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/inside today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/inside. Inside of You is brought to you by Wondery. Selena Quintanilla was a force of nature, but when a loyal friend betrayed her, she met a fate she never deserved. Even the Rich is a podcast from Wondery that tells you the stories of the crazy lives of the greatest family dynasties to pop culture superstars. In their new season, Viva Selena, you'll hear how she made a massive cultural impact and became a legend the world will never forget. All before her 24th birthday, she had already left a legacy across cultures that would continue for generations. Her huge talent was nearly overshadowed by her untimely death. She was shot by a close friend and confidant, but there's so much more to Selena's story than her tragic passing. She was kind-hearted, brave, and tried her best to bring joy to everyone in her life. The positivity she put into the world still carries on nearly 30 years after her death, and she will always be the queen of Tejano music. Enjoy Even the Rich on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge Even the Rich, Viva Selena right now ad-free on Wondery Plus. Get started with your free trial at Wondery.com/plus. Did you have brain damage?
No.
No?
They didn't know. They didn't know anything. They weren't even sure. They were telling her, we're not sure he's coming out of it.
And they don't know what caused it, really?
Not really. They're not really sure. But I think it was like, I run myself pretty hard. Do you know, like
How so?
I was smoking then. I don't sleep much.
You stress?
No, I'm not a stressor.
But you don't sleep. It's weird. It's people that stress usually don't sleep.
No, I just don't sleep. I like the night. What I find is that my days are usually like kind of full with other people's shit.
Like my shit.
Yeah.
Podcast.
Yeah, but people, like, remember my family, my daughter, whatever, blah, 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 blah. The stuff I like to do. And so, like, I find that my day isn't my day. But when it hits midnight and everyone's gone to bed, that's my time. And then I can just sit back, relax, don't have to think about work.
Or anyone else.
And it depends, and initially I would read, but then my eyesight started getting a bit shitty. I
love these stories.
Yeah. So I took to documentaries. And so
That's all I watch, horror movies and documentaries.
Yeah.
But the horror movies are such shit now that I'm switching to westerns.
they are so bad.
They're so bad, and I love horror, and they're
So
all
do I.
fucking bad.
I've been trying to watch them.
I could tell you a couple to watch. The only ones: Speak No Evil,
Yeah, like that.
Watcher.
That was good.
See,
What was the one where the girl was in the woods? She was deaf.
oh yeah, Hush.
Liked it.
Liked it. Mike Flanagan directed
Liked
that.
it a lot.
I love that you love horror. You got to come to the horror. We have a horror group that watch horror movies every Tuesday night. But we're so, I don't know. We're just so upset now that last night we said, fuck this. Rotten Tomatoes gives it 99%, all the reviews. And we watch it and we're like, this is a piece of shit.
It's all the same now. It's all Cabin in the Woods. It's all everybody. All I want to do is, I hate horror movies where, it's quite obvious you need to get out of the fucking house and you don't. Joey, I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's like the
What happened in the old days where it's like, you know what was the thing about when they, in the 70s and 80s, you didn't have again, we go back to the cell phones and technology. So people just couldn't pick up their phone and call the cops. They couldn't do whatever. So if you're out in the woods or you're out wherever.
Well, they try to recreate that now.
They do, and it works sometimes.
My
but-
signal's not working.
Oh,
It's like,
and that's so redundant.
I'm so bad. They got to figure something else.
By the way, you quit after the coma. You came out. You stopped smoking.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was it. You're like, I'm done. How many?
Yeah, that was it. And if that doesn't make you quit, then then you're on your own. Anyway, so I wasn't allowed to leave Hawaii for about 5 weeks, I think.
Wow.
And I was so desperate. I was so desperate to leave. But, when you go into one of those, when you go into Induced Coma, when I came out, I could remember almost everything. Well, the most amazing thing about it was, what I remember the most is that I had the most amazing dreams, hallucinations. I remember them to a T to this day. It was so fantastic. When I woke up, I said, how many hospitals have I been in? Because I thought that I had been to Zurich. I'd been on a private plane flying to hospitals in Zurich, in Germany. I thought I'd done like 7 hospitals.
Wow. It felt like eternity.
In my head. No, I mean, it was quite an interesting trip. And I kept meeting these kind of bizarre people in that state that I was in. It was very lucid, actually. And there were times that I would come out of that dream state and I could see people that I knew, but I couldn't communicate with them. That was a little odd. That was like being stuck inside this glass bowl.
Could you ever see yourself like lying in a bed?
Yeah, I did.
Because that, they say, is like when you're passing or like where you're almost close to passing.
Well,
a lot of people will see that.
And when I didn't see myself. Okay, so here's how I saw myself. I was in a German clinic, and I had this crazy female German doctor who was like Bauhaus kind of thing.
Let me change your diaper.
Yeah, no change your diaper, but we have this new treatment for you. And it was like this, because what I remember, I was hot all the time, right? And she said, we have this ice suit that you must put on. So I had this blow up ice suit.
Ice?
It was a blow up suit that it was very, very chilled. But it was quite uncomfortable.
Hence an ice suit.
It was ice and very uncomfortable to wear. It was not made by Hugo Boss, that's for sure.
What was I going to say? I love hearing those stories, and I've seen documentaries on that stuff. And there's like that, what is it called? That stuff that when you die, there's this liquid in your head. It's called HDT.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But it releases, and it's no one knows. The science is like, what is this here for?
DMT.
DMT, and I had
DMT.
Well, I had a lot of DMT going on because I had, like I said, I still remember them all quite specifically. Mm-hmm. To the point where when I woke up, I said, "Which hospital am I in now?" I've been to Germany, Zurich, Spain.
Like, no, you've been here.
And I went, this one hospital, and I was like, get the fuck out. No, I've been everywhere. And
that's crazy.
Yeah. But I also I guess it was more serious than I gave it credit for, because I had to kind of learn to walk again. And they said to me, you're not getting out of this hospital until you can walk without a walker. There's a very long corridor in the hospital. And they said, till the end of that, around the corner and come back again. When you can walk that, because I was desperate to get out. Once I got conscious, I just wanted to go home. You know, like, you're not going anywhere until you could make that walk. Well, at that point, I could barely get out of bed. So, but every day, I just had it in my head, I'm getting out of here. That was my one thing. I hate hospitals. So,
but you had willpower. You wanted to get out. You wanted to live. You wanted
to. I had gotten to the point, I think I was about 3 weeks in there or 4 weeks in there, and I'd had it. I needed to get out. So the day before, the doctor said, okay, let me see you do it. And I missed it. I got about halfway down the hall and couldn't do it. So that night I went to sleep and I went, I don't care if it kills you. You are making that walk tomorrow. And I still wasn't ready to leave the hospital, to be honest. And he was very skeptical, the doctor. And I made myself walk down that corridor and walk all the way back and then sit on the bed and act like it was no big deal.
And he let you go.
He did let me go because he promised me when I could do that, he would.
Wow.
He didn't want to. He knew I was, probably not ready. So
that's crazy.
It was really nuts. And really, it was a pretty hard start for my current wife.
Yeah, I would say. Do you still love acting? Do you love being on set? Do you love what you do?
Yes, all the time.
Really? Still?
I don't love everything I'm in, but
of course.
But I love the atmosphere of a set. And they're not all great, but there's always pockets of people that you will gravitate towards. And I love the collaborative atmosphere on a set. And I'm not a joiner in life at all. But on a set, I feel like it's different. I feel like it's not joining. I feel like it's a collaboration. And a kind of, especially when people want to work stuff out. And I've been asked that before because I think people think you get jaded or bored, or some people do. But I was never in it for the money. I was never in it when I started, my chances of success were like, bupkis, like everybody else's. I didn't even care about that. I really didn't. I went to acting school. I loved acting school. I went to several, and I liked most of them. And I just enjoyed getting into a piece of material and seeing what I could do different with it. Most of that stuff, when you're in acting class, it's all stuff that's been done like 900 times. So I would always try to find something like, what way hasn't this been done? And in what way can I kind of pick this apart and maybe reassemble it in a way that's different?
Were your parents supportive? Like your dad was an auto mechanic, right?
My dad was a mechanic, and then
so was my grandfather. And I can't imagine it. Like if
my father didn't speak to me for years
because of the acting.
Yeah,
he was that upset with you.
Absolutely. In fact, when his friends would say, they'd say to him, my father's name was Eddie, and they go, Eddie, how you boys doing? He go, Jonathan, he's going to be a doctor. He's going great. My son Michael, he works in the business with me. And then he just stopped.
What?
And people would say, what about your oldest son? And he'd go, He just was
But what about when you had success? Did it change?
Well, yeah, but see, that wasn't any good though, because
wasn't meaningful.
Not to me.
Were you kind of like, where were you?
I didn't say, listen, I did treat him that way, but I didn't. Oh yeah, no. My father and I had a fairly open, combustible relationship, and that's before acting. We
wasn't great.
I'm the oldest son, so Italian father, the oldest son is responsible for the other fucking two. Like your two brothers, right. If they fuck up, it's your fault. So they never catch it. You catch everything, and so because apparently, according to him, you're supposed to know better. And it's like, but I'm 12. How the fuck should I know better?
So you had a lot of pressure on you growing up.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Was he a big guy?
This is the thing. He wasn't. He was about 5'8". He was from Calabria. He was a mechanic, and he had hands like rock. He went to work when he was 8 as a apprentice mechanic, and where he lived, he worked for those guys in the beginning. And when he did something wrong, they would throw a spanner at his head. That's how he grew up.
Jesus.
Right?
So he was tough.
He was a very tough man, and when he had hands like rocks, and when he put a hand on you, man, you knew it.
So you got hit.
Oh, sure.
Like he wouldn't mess around. You messed around, you're gonna get smacked.
My father and I, yeah.
Did you ever stand up to him?
I'm about to tell you that
All
story.
right.
I'm about to tell you that story. Now, during this time, all I wanted in life, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. So all my time was devoted to playing soccer. And so, I got signed professionally as a backup goalkeeper when I was 16. I was quite young.
Yeah, for like a big league, right?
It was for Australia at the time.
Yeah.
It was the National League. And
Adelaide City.
Adelaide City, mate.
We were doing that right before you came. Like Adelaide, Brisbane, Sydney, Gold Coast, Melbourne.
Well, Adelaide, we get into Adelaide if you want. Just like, that's like most serial killers per capita in the world.
Adelaide.
But it's got lovely parks.
I've been there twice.
Have you?
Yeah, I liked it.
Did you know about the serial killers?
I didn't. I won't be returning.
No,
but go ahead.
The Torrance River used to have floaters going down it all the time.
Oh, my
It did.
God.
It's interesting because my wife came with me. My current wife came with me. I call her my current wife because you never know. And
My future ex-wife.
my future ex-wife. No, I don't think so.
No,
She's just current. And she's such a good sport. And she came to Adelaide with me because I was doing something there. And she would say, without me saying anything, she said, I went for a bit of a run down by the river. What's the river called? I forget now. The Torrance? No.
I don't know.
I
Just
don't know,
make
whatever.
it up. No one
But
knows.
it goes through the city. And there's all these, it's also one of the most beautifully planned cities, parks everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this river runs through the middle of it. And there's a particular part of it that has a pretty dark history. And she would say to me, I don't know what it is. I don't like running down there because it just kind of creeps me out. There's something there. I said, you have good instincts. Many people have floated right past that bridge.
Oh, my God.
There was a spate of murders, especially of young boys.
Jesus.
A massive amount. One of the greatest unsolved cases in Australian history, still not solved, is a case called the Beaumont children, where three siblings, one was 4, 7, 11. They went to the beach because back then, listen.
You just went. No one.
Yeah,
no one
my
would
brother
worry.
and I used to leave the house at 6 a.m. and didn't come back till 6 p.m.
Right.
And God knows what the hell we got up to.
That was the same way. 80s. It's like just be home by 10.
Just be
whatever.
home. Yeah, just be home for dinner.
But so these three kids.
So these 3 kids were kidnapped from a crowded beach, and no one ever saw them again. And they've never caught the guy. I have my own suspicions because at one time I wanted to do a movie about it, but it was suggested to me that I should not.
Wow. Well, go back to your father. I want to hear that.
My father.
You had the fight with your father. You want to hear this, Ryan?
My father. Okay, so my father, listen, he was a larger than life guy. Everything was extremes for him. He was a mechanic. He worked hard, but he played hard. He gambled a lot. So we all always broke or flush all the time. So, but, when he was on he's not a drinker, but big smoker. But when he would be on a bad run, watch out. And
Not a happy person.
No, not happy at all. And so, I was so in tune with this guy that when I was a kid, like, under 10 maybe, we had a gravel driveway and he'd pull up in the car and I could tell from his footsteps on the crunch on the gravel what mood he was in. You get so in tune with what's coming your way.
So visual and audible. It's like,
Man.
holy shit.
And I'd hear that crunch, I was gone.
You knew to get out of the
I
house.
got out of the house. Anyway, so like there were quite a few times where, here's what happened. I'm playing soccer. I'm getting bigger. I'm working out in the gym. I'm like starting to get like really, like you never know now, but like I was starting to get really in good shape. And so I think I was about 16 and we got another disagreement about something because I could never shut up. If he said something I thought it was stupid, I would go, well, that's just stupid. And that was enough to set him off. And so he got me up. He had me up against, I had a t-shirt and a pair of shorts on. And he had me by the t-shirt. And he had it ripped up like that. And I remember just thinking, that's fucking it. No more. And I grabbed him and I shoved him up against the wall. And I said, you're never fucking touching me again. And his eyes, like Marty Feldman, they came out of his head. And you think that was the end of it. Fuck no. There was a big carving knife on the table. So he grabs the knife.
What?
And he starts coming after me with the knife.
Are you serious?
100%. And if he'd have caught me, he would have stabbed me. But I knew it too, because at that moment, I realized that maybe pushing him up against the wall wasn't that great an idea. So So I ran. It was like a cartoon. I ran through, we had a screen door. And I ran through the screen door, to the screen. Like my shape was in the screen. And it was nighttime. And I took off. I had no shoes on. I had a ripped t-shirt down the middle. And I'm walking around the streets of my neighborhood, right? Thinking, fuck, Jesus, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where to go. I'll just stay out here for a bit, I guess. And then this cop car pulls up next to me and they go, what's going on? What are you doing out here? I said, no, I'm just taking a walk. It's about 1 a.m. I'm just taking a walk. And they, how'd you rip your t-shirt? I said, it's ripped. It's like that already. And they kind of got it. They knew. So they got in the, they said, where do you live? And I said, yeah, get in the car, blah, blah, blah. And then when we got to my house, they said, do you want us to come in? And I said, no, I think I'll be all right. And so they dropped me off. They knew.
And what did Dad do when you got in?
Well, here's the thing, right? If the house is dark. It's got to be like 2 a.m. by now. House is dark. And I think, wow, he's gone to bed. That's great. So I kind of go in the house quietly and I get to my room and I open the door and all I see is this little bright orange tip of a cigarette in the corner. Just, and he's like, you back, huh? And I'm like, yep. He said, we're going to talk about this in the morning. And he left.
Oh my God.
But he never touched me again.
You know, my friend Joe has a story just like that. Like his dad would always do this. He said he had a finger that was steel and he would poke him in his chest and it would hurt and he'd lay in. And one time he did it and Joe grabbed his finger and said, never touch me again. Yeah. Because he had grown, he was wrestling and all that. I've heard that story many a time. Unfortunately, I was the shortest. I was 5'4" when I graduated high school. My dad was 6'5", 225.
You were 5'4"?
I grew 9 inches or 8 inches in the next year on my way to college.
Wow.
But my dad, I couldn't do that. I tried to stand up to him, but like, what am I? Yeah. I mean, it was just impossible. I didn't have the size. I didn't have the, you know what I mean? But,
it was interesting. It was an interesting change in dynamic. Our relationship wasn't any better, but that part of it was over. And the interesting thing is, he never did that with either of my other 2 brothers.
Just you made an example.
Because it's a thing in Italian families where the oldest is supposed to take responsibility for all shit from the age of 9 years old. And I figured it out later in life. He went to work when he was 8. So for him, your childhood ended at 8 or 9. That's it.
Wow.
You got to be more responsible.
Do you look back and you think, I love my dad, it was tough, or was it when he passed, I
was there.
Was it hard?
I want to be honest. No.
Wasn't?
No. He had cancer. And he had they did this arthroscopic surgery on him 2 years before, and they said that, the doctor came out and said, look, I think we got most of it, a lot of it, but I think it's going to come back in maybe 2 years. Should we tell him? And we all said, no, don't tell him. Let him feel like, and because if you told him,
he'd think about it.
Well, I know my dad, he would have obsessed on it. So I wouldn't tell him. And he's quite happy. But to the day, 2 years later, he came back. And there was no fixing it this time. And my father was a guy that did not want to die at all.
How old was he?
I want to say late 70s.
Late 70s. It's pretty young.
Not that old. I'm not that far away from it. He just did not want to go. And he was so pissed off because his mental faculty, such as it was still there. But his body was starting to fail him. And it's just some really interesting stuff. And I went back. All my brothers, we all dropped everything. We'd done it several times. We'd gotten these calls before. Your old man's dying. Come back. And we go back and he'd be fine. He'd
Right.
make a recovery.
Right.
So it was a bit of a joke. But this time we knew it wasn't. So the three of us went back. And he did not want to die in the hospital. So we got him out of the hospital and we took him home. And it was just really, it was our relationship. This is the thing I think you have, it's part of you as a kid. Part of me felt like, oh, this is the moment where we reconcile. This is the moment where
he tells
me, I'm sorry about all the bullshit that I did and and all that kind of stuff. And it just never came. And I have to tell you something. I was relieved that it didn't come because I wouldn't have known what to do with it. I wouldn't have known who that guy was. It's never who he was. He was unapologetic to the end. He just was that way. And so we had that difficult relationship right up to the last day. There was a time when he was in hospital, my two brothers were there, and he's in this enormous amount of pain, and he's taking Advil. They've given him every great drug known to man to kill the pain, and he won't take it, doesn't believe in them. Drugs that I said, just tell me where they are because I'll take them. No problem. I don't want to watch this happen.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So we got into a fight one night in the hospital, and I said to him, this is driving me nuts. This pain medication, it's designed so you don't have to suffer like this. And I'm not fucking taking it. And I said, well, I don't feel like watching it. So I left the hospital room. And this is to tell you everything about my dad. It's brilliant. I have respect for my dad. So my second brother comes down. I said, I'll come for a walk with you. Just let me go up and talk to Dad for a minute. So he goes up and he talks to my father. And he comes down. He said, Dad told me to give you a message. And I said, what's that? He said, he told me to go fuck yourself.
Oh my
and
God.
I laughed. I did what you did. I laughed. And I went, oh, he's brilliant, isn't he? And so we went for a walk. But it was a very hard-boiled relationship.
Do you think though, if you in your gut, do you think? I know my father loved me in his own way? Or do you not really believe that?
It's interesting. Nobody's asked me that question before. I guess on some level, yeah. But we just did not have that kind of relationship.
No. It's just what it was. That's how it was.
It was what it was. It was like, I could have been a 40-year-old mechanic that worked alongside of him.
And it wouldn't have changed.
Not really. I don't think so. But my brothers have a totally different experience with him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so sometimes we fight about, the perception of my father.
Right.
And I don't fight with them. They fight with me. I'm like, hey, listen, it's easy for you guys to say. I was copping shit for your shit. So of course it was fine for you.
Yeah.
But I also don't hold it against them either.
Right.
I don't have feelings of resentment against him, or
You have to let that go or it will destroy you.
I did have those feelings.
Yeah, sure. Me too.
Like
I had things.
my initial impetus, like to succeed in anything, was because my father told me all the time.
Approval.
My father told me on a daily basis that I would never amount to shit. On a pretty daily basis, and
that's hard.
so internally, but he was good for me. Internally, I'd be like, really? We'll see, motherfucker. We will see. And so that drove me. I think in the first part of my career, that really was like the rocket fuel. I can say it now. I don't think I realized it so much at the time.
But you're almost like, thank you for that. In a way.
It was an unintentional gift. But yeah, it hardened me up for a business that you need to have some hide. This is not an easy business. I love, like reality shows and stuff have kind of diluted the difficulty of like really being an actor and
the amount of content and the streaming services.
Taking it out of, I mean, look, I have nothing against reality. I can't really watch it because I'm just not interested in the boring shit that they're talking about.
Right.
They're just talking about like such minutia problems. Well, they're like, sucking on a 95-carat diamond ring or something. It's like, I don't fucking care.
No, I know.
I just don't care about your problem.
Yeah.
And you don't have one. And I won't mention the obvious that sit around eating salads sounding like cats all the time.
Hey, let me ask you, we haven't really talked about your career.
Yeah,
but that's not what the podcast is. I like to talk about life and shit.
Yeah,
but like I
me
know
too.
you want a Tony and a Golden Globe and an Emmy. Is there that sort of ego that's like, I want an Oscar and then I got them all?
100%.
100% want that.
I would love it. I have to earn it, but I would love that. Absolutely, I won't lie.
I watched when you won your Golden Globe, and I just was like, you just look so happy and confident, like so appreciative too. It was nice.
Yeah, you didn't see me win the Tony. It was much different.
Oh, really?
No, I was like, I was so not sure. I was so sure I was not winning that year. That when they called my name, I swear to God, it was at Radio City Music Hall, and it was like, you see movies where they do like the amorphic lens and everything goes. Brrr. That's exactly what happened to me. So I got on stage. I forgot to thank the director. I forgot to thank Allison Janney. I forgot. I don't know what the fuck I said. It's just like this whole blur. And, but it meant a lot.
Yeah, of course.
It meant a lot to me.
You know what it is for me? I haven't won many awards. I mean, awards that aren't like, Saturn Award. It wasn't a Golden Globe, was it? But
do you know what? It's an acknowledgement.
Exactly. I think it was just like, hey, someone saw something in me that they appreciated. That's nice to know that I'm doing something right.
Yeah, and I, as I said when I started, I had no expectations of even working. So everything that happened, although there is that weird thing that happens in the beginning when you're younger. Like I went from 7 or 8 years of act theater classes and doing off into the river.
New Jersey Broadway.
Some, I did I can't remember. The theater was so small. There was an actor
I've
named
done that.
Bobby Pastorelli. I don't remember if you remember Bobby. Bobby was an amazing actor. He used to play Eldon on Murphy Brown, the painter.
Yeah. I do remember him.
So Bobby was he was a great friend of mine, and he was kind of like, I have a bunch of tattoos. And I got my first tattoo because Bobby said, "Hey, Anthony, you want to go to Patterson, New Jersey? We're going to get a tattoo from my tattoo artist, Calamity Jane." And I'm like, "Sure, Bobby, I'll go." So I go. I'm not intending to get a tattoo. And Bobby's laying on the chair, and he's getting a giant wolf howling at the moon on his chest. He had tons of tattoos already. Right? And he's laying there, and he looks like he's in no pain whatsoever. None, right? And he's going, and he's chatting away, and he's laughing with me and whatever. And he says, "Hey, you want to get a tattoo? I'm buying." I'm like, yeah, come on. Okay, well, just a little one. Get a little one. Get a little one in your arm. He said, "Yeah, look at that wall. Pick one off the wall." And so I'm looking at these, like, I don't know, shit from, Shinola about tattoos. And so I look at one, and it's like, it's a dagger with a snake and something else. But it's only about like that big, right? And so I'm thinking, I'll get that. It's small. It'll be okay, whatever. I get in the chair.
You cried like a bitch.
I didn't cry. I started sweating. I started going into a flop sweat. Like the pain was relentless. It wouldn't let up. And he just sat in the chair laughing his ass off. But like he was such a funny, great guy.
I love that. Do you still keep in touch with certain actors from certain projects like Empire Records? Do you still talk with any of those guys, or was that kind of like because that was such a great cast? You've been in so many things with great casts. I wonder, because I met your best friend. What's his name? Out here?
Which one?
The one out here who's waiting for you.
Oh, Jorge. Yeah.
Rory?
Jorge. George.
And you guys have been friends 20 years, and it seems to me like, you don't have a lot of actor friends. You like, you don't.
I don't.
You don't, do you?
No, and it's not because I don't like them. The truth is, once you all start working, look, okay, so there was a time in New York when I would walk into an audition room before any of us started booking, and it would be John Turturro, me, Stanley Tucci, and Vince Spano, and another guy. I can't remember.
Platt?
No, we were different. We were different. We were all Italian. So we were all the Italian roles.
Gotcha.
And it got to the point when we walk in the room and we go, you're here. Well, one of us gets it.
Right.
And one of us would get it. And it would kind of rotate around.
Right.
And I'm still friends from then with Stanley Tucci. Although he's blown up so big now. He lives in London. He's got a beautiful wife, got a bunch of kids. And so his life is,
All right, people get busy. People have their own lives. But if you saw him, you'd be like...
Well, I do. I visit him sometimes. When I go to London, I go have dinner with him and his wife and stuff. But there's not a regular thing because you're all on different schedules. But I'm the kind of person, like if you're my friend, if I don't see you for a year or 2 years, it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't get upset about it. And when I see you, it's like it picks up where it left off.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't feel the same way. A lot of people get upset if you don't return a phone call And
I hate that. You got to be understanding. It's like, hey,
and I'm
here.
I have to admit, if you had to rate friends.
You don't reach out as much.
I don't.
You're not a reacher. You're not a jack reacher.
I'm not. I'm really happy with my own company.
Yeah.
I'm not like, I don't.
You don't need a lot of people.
Very few.
You need it to be night when everybody else goes to bed.
Yeah.
You need Jorge, hang out.
No, Jorge doesn't hang out.
He doesn't.
No, not at night. He sleeps. Everybody sleeps.
Everybody sleeps. It's not even him.
Everybody sleeps.
All right. Listen to this. This is called ShitTalkin with Anthony LaPaglia.
Oh.
This is my top tier patrons that give back to the podcast. They're devoted diehards. I couldn't do it without them. This is rapid fire. Yeah, take a drink of coffee. So this is going to be, I'm going to ask a question. It's rapid fire. You answer fast.
Okay.
Thank you. Go to patreon.com/inside you. Thank you guys. You know I love you. All right, Katie B. Mr. LaPaglia. By the way, how many people say Mr. LaPaglia?
Yeah, everyone.
Okay. All right. That was my question, by the way. Mr. LaPaglia had an epic guest run on Frasier, and I saw it. What was it like stepping into that and working with that tight group of actors?
Amazing. They accepted me right away. From the first reading, I got laughs, and they kept writing the part bigger for me.
And you won an Emmy.
And I won an Emmy.
Maya P., what is your advice for maintaining longevity in the business?
Let go. When you're up for a project, when you read something you really like and you know that you could play it and you know all that stuff that actors think, when it doesn't go your way, give yourself that afternoon and let it go and move on to the next thing. Be like a shark.
I love it. House of Joel. What are the crazy memories from Empire Records, and do you have a favorite song from that great soundtrack?
Oh my God. My craziest memories I have were we were at a CVS or something like that, and those kids were nuts.
Rory Cochrane.
Rory was actually one of the saner ones, but Ethan, he won't mind me saying this. Sometimes I still text Ethan, but like Ethan Embry and who's the other kid? I see him too. He's grown up and he's a pretty good actor.
Yeah. Oh, Johnny Whitworth.
I don't hear from Johnny much.
Oh.
It's the other. He had a smaller role, and this kid, I remember him so well because he drove a golf cart. I had a brand new Ford Bronco.
Right.
And in the first week of shooting, him, what was his name? Sean.
There was.
I used to call him Ratface.
Coyote Shivers.
No.
Brendan Sexton.
Yes, Brendan Sexton.
Yeah, I worked with him too.
I love Brendan.
I worked with him years ago.
Brendan Sexton is a great kid.
Yeah.
Anyway, he destroyed my Bronco with a golf cart. Like second day I had it.
Did you want to kill him?
Yeah, kind of. But the craziest stuff I remember is Ethan, and it might have been Brendan, Ethan and someone else. We were at a CVS. Ethan got a hold of like a fake gun. It was an orange fake gun in the CVS. It might have been a flare gun or something.
Oh, no.
And he ran out into the parking lot and was like pointing it at people. The next thing I know, I walk outside and, this was in North Carolina. So the North Carolina State Troopers, they don't fuck around. They had those boys on their back, on their stomachs and handcuffs and in jail.
They went to jail
in that day, and the producer, I forget his name, poor guy.
What's the flare gun? It's a flare gun.
No. But like everybody got freaked, and I'm just standing there watching the whole thing. But this has been going on. They've been fucking around for the whole movie, So this is not a big surprise. So I'm just standing back watching it, thinking that might straighten you out. It didn't, but
that might straighten you.
It might straighten you out.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And his favorite song from it? Oh, it's been, I never watched the things I'm in, so I don't really remember.
Let's see.
If you tossed out a cover, I'll tell you what I do remember. Liv Tyler was probably one of the nicest human beings I'd ever met in my life. She was so sweet and so completely genuine. And this is, I think, before she found out, like, who her dad was. I think that was just happening or something.
Really? She didn't know?
No.
She didn't know Stephen? I didn't know that.
No, she didn't. No, oops.
No, I'm sure that's
I think
there.
was it Todd Rundgren brought her up and anyway.
I don't know the story.
But when you look at her, you go, yeah, okay, that's Stephen Tyler's good. But I didn't think that at the time. I remember her being incredibly sweet.
I'm looking at the songs here. Are you looking at them?
I was looking at them too, yeah.
It was a good soundtrack, I think.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Jim Blossom's Toad the Wet Sprocket.
Oh, yeah. That stuff from back then.
So right. Cracker. I love Cracker.
This was like
the
but the movie was just like a free-for-all. It was
fun.
It was, but you know what? This is the thing. This is Angry Anthony, right? Because, and you can't tell in the movie, but I was not a happy camper because the movie, when I got the script, it was like full of like drug references and smoking dope and people getting high and all this stuff. And
Got too
the
PG for
director,
you.
Alan, no, it wasn't. The studio, the day before we started shooting, the studio went, we're taking all that stuff out. It's PG now. And and the kids were like, fuck it. They didn't care. Whatever. They didn't know. But I was like, wait, this changes the entire movie. It was not a musical when I started it. And so it took me a while to wrap my head around the fact that I'm now in a completely different film than the one I thought I was.
Did you try to get out of it?
No. But I was not happy. I was committed to it. And so I thought, I'm going to do my best to make it work. And it took me a week or two and then, what really kind of shat me the most was the director, Alan Moyle, was trying to make that okay. Instead of saying to me, look, it's fucked up and it's not the direction I want to go in, he got all happy. Hey, we're going to make a fantastic movie anyway. And I was like, it's so. This Renee Zellweger was in it, and these were all kids that were all really talented, but they needed direction. And I remember doing a scene. Look at me telling these dirty stories. I remember being in a scene in the film. We were all in the record store, and we rehearse it. No, we don't rehearse it. Alan wants to shoot it. And so we shoot it, and the kids all line up against the wall, don't move, and say their line standing against the wall. And I'm walking around the office, and then he yells, cut. And he goes, that's not bad. Let's go. I went, what do you mean that's not bad? Nobody's doing anything. You got to give them an attention, give them an action, give them something to do. Like in the scene.
Did he finally do it?
Not before we had like a good yelling match. You trying to tell me how to direct my movie? I said, yes.
Yeah, actually.
Actually, I am. And I never do that stuff.
Yeah. I heard that you're the nicest, best guy to work with from many people.
I never do that stuff. And it's only when I see someone.
Incompetence. Lack of caring.
Well, just, he wanted to be friends with all the young actors so much that I think that it distracted him. I don't think he's a bad director. I just think
I know what you're saying.
And he also enabled them with their bad behavior a little bit. And that didn't sit well with me either. Even when I started with, really kind of serious people. Kim Stanley, was one of my acting coaches. Just was one of the most amazing actresses on stage in New York ever. People who are old enough still remember her performance in The Three Sisters in 1963.
Yeah.
That's someone who really. And I was lucky. I got to study with a few people like that, and the seriousness of what you were doing was always impressed upon me, not necessarily by telling me, but by the environment that I was in. And it wasn't like wanky, oh, aren't we so great actors? It was like, no, this is work.
Let's do the work.
Let's do the work. Let's really focus on.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No. And that's the only thing, when I work on a set, I'm very pro crew. I love the crew because they work their asses off. They get there first, they leave last.
Yep.
I got the easy job. I usually have, if I ever have issues, it's more with upper management.
Creative or whatever.
Not even creative. The creatives are usually not bad. It's the upper management above that who are like, we're running out of light. Let's do it faster.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Oh,
and
that's
working on
yeah. And my argument always is, look, we can do it and it's a bit darker, but it's really good. We could do it in the light and it's shit. I don't know. Which one do you want?
Whichever saves us money. Moving on.
And that's what really gets me. It's like, I want quality.
Yeah. Let me ask you this.
Yeah, go.
And this is a quick question. I have to know this. Ryan, I have to know. Is this a true story that you were cast in Django Unchained and you left because it was out of control, or is that just bullshit?
That's bullshit.
It is.
I was cast in it, but I couldn't do it.
Why is that?
Because, I hope Quentin's listening, because I loved him, all right?
Well, yeah, I love him.
I loved him. And I went in and I read with Jamie Foxx. We did readings and stuff. And I was so pumped to do it, right? And what happened was they had problems on Django. They kept pushing. They kept pushing my part. They kept pushing my part. They pushed it for like months. And then I got another job. And they, as soon as I got that job,
We're ready for you.
Quentin's ready. And I'm like, Quentin, I said, I have to not do it because before you told me you were ready, I committed to this other job thinking that this was going to continue. Nobody told me that you were close to heated. No,
Did you talk to him about it?
He never, I don't think he ever spoke to me again.
I bet he forgot about it now. I bet it's okay now.
He has a pretty amazing memory. Like he knew all my movies.
Well, I bet he's forgiving and understood, and maybe didn't call you or talk to you about it, but was disappointed.
No,
he wanted you.
I got the sense that he was upset that he felt like I made the wrong choice. That I should have. By then, it was a film. It was an Australian film that had got all its funding based on my name.
Right.
So I sat there and kind of did the logical math. Would I like to be in one of Quentin's movies? Of course I would. But this movie, if I pull out of it, they're going to lose their financing. And I felt responsible to that. I knew me not being in Django, Quentin wasn't going to lose 1 cent of financing because I wasn't in it.
Let me ask you this lastly. I got to ask you this, and I'll let you know because I know this.
No, you can ask me.
By the way, this is awesome. Your stories are just fucking awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean, I was like, again, one of those guys that I go, all right, he's got to come back. He's got so many stories. We'll get into it.
Yeah, anytime. Anytime.
Seriously. But
scratch the tip of the ice.
I know. I touched on a lot of little things, but some important things. Like I like the stuff with the relationship and your dad and all that. But I wanted to ask you, because I know you worked with him, and I know a lot of things came out about.
I forgave my dad, by the way. Just so you know at the end.
Yeah.
So you know at the end, I not so much forgave, but understood.
Accepted.
Well, especially last year, I went back to his village where he grew up, and everything made sense.
Wow.
In Bavellino, in Calabria, in Italy, and the people in Bavellino welcomed me to that town like I was a returning warrior. I got a key to the city.
Oh my God.
I know. And I thought, oh, if my dad could see this.
He'd be pissed.
He'd be so pissed off.
Fucking asshole.
That idiot.
Tell him to fuck off.
That idiot got a key to the city.
I busted my ass. He's an actor. All right. So you worked with Bill Murray on Broadway, didn't you?
Oh, no. Okay. Here's what happened. I did after
World Trade Center. I did a play. Bill Murray was doing a play with Sigourney Weaver. It's more of a reading kind of play, but it was quite powerful. Mm-hmm. It was called The Guys. Right.
And I got a call saying, because Susan's husband, Jim, was a theater guy. And I got a call saying, we'd like you to come in and replace Bill. He's got to leave.
Oh.
And would you come in and replace Bill? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then Susan Sarandon came in with me to replace Sigourney. I'm not sure.
So you're not sure you never worked with him?
I've never worked with Bill. I would have loved to have, but I mean, even now I know he's in trouble and shit, but whatever.
Yeah.
People get in trouble.
People get in trouble for bad actions sometimes.
People get in trouble. Look, listen, here's the thing about reporting and hearsay. I find it not to be particularly reliable. There's two sides to the story. I'm not ever saying if there are complaints from women about being harassed, I take that seriously. I had heard that, but I'd always heard it in this kind of like affectionate, curmudgeon-y way, that Bill was a bit grumpy. He's also in one of my favorite movies of all time, Lost in Translation.
Oh, yeah.
I love that movie. And I think his performance is incredible.
Brilliant. No doubting he's a brilliant actor.
Yeah. But I had heard he was a bit curmudgeon-y and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, whatever.
Richard Dreyfuss supposedly said he was a monster on What About Bob? A monster.
I've worked with Richard.
Was Richard a monster?
No.
He's great, right?
No. He's the most highly energetic, enthusiastic, actor-friendly guy. I really enjoyed working with him.
Have you ever worked with any, and you don't have to say, but just any assholes, any guys like that are big stars that you're like, this son of a bitch, I'm just going to do my part. I'm going to do what I do and fuck him or fuck her, whatever it is.
No. I replaced somebody who was an asshole, and I heard about what an asshole he was. I'm not saying who it was. But I have never worked with someone that I've worked with some difficult people. Like I worked with, at that time, he had a reputation, and I'll say because I love him, Val Kilmer, right? And I worked with Val, and this is a true story. On the first day that I meet Val, he comes out and he's got like this pristine white T-shirt that says, what was that movie he did with De Niro?
Heat?
Hey, he's got a beautiful white Heat T-shirt, and he's got a cup of coffee. And I'm standing there talking to the director, and he comes up, and I've got like this kind of like, I don't know, like nylon jacket or something on. And he comes up, and he's got a cup of coffee. He puts his arm around me and starts pouring the coffee down the front of my jacket while I'm talking to the director. And I just look at it, and I just get it, and I just wipe it all over his nice white T-shirt. And that set up a good relationship.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't get upset. I just wiped the coffee back on his T-shirt. And I think a lot of people, and he probably would have even said he was having a pretty difficult time at that time.
Yeah.
And there was some big blow-ups on that set. But me personally, I didn't have a problem with him.
That's awesome.
And you know, he would come into my trailer and he would say things to me like, now listen, man, I want you to see this ring. He had all these big rings on. He's like, I think that you should wear this ring in this scene because it represents X, Y, and Z and blah, blah, blah. And now what I know is the shot we're about to do is the three of us standing on a hill in silhouette against the sun. So I go, give me the ring. That's great.
No one gives a shit.
No one's gonna see it. It made him happy, and you know, it made him happy.
Man, this has been awesome. I love the stories. I loved having you. You didn't know me for shit, but through a mutual friend.
You ask great questions, I have to say.
Oh, thanks. I just wanted to hear your story, and you have such a story, so I appreciate it. I'm going to keep in touch with you.
I've been real lucky in my whole career.
Well, here's to you getting an Oscar someday.
Do you know what? I would love it. If it doesn't happen, but
on your gravestone, say one short of the four.
I don't. No, I'll just make my own and put it on the top. It's something that like I know people go like awards and blah blah blah. Anybody that says the award doesn't mean anything, they're a liar, because it's nice to be acknowledged by your peers.
Sure,
and I mean, look, for a lot of actors, Oscars like kiss of death for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Because what happens I've known a couple of people, what happens is they win the Oscar and they go, it happened to me when I won the Tony. I went, what do I do now? How do I top this? Mm-hmm. And so I didn't do theater for like a bunch of years because I didn't know how to top it.
You don't try to top. You just continue to do good work.
I didn't.
I know. I'm just saying that's what you probably should do.
That's exactly what you should do.
I don't know.
That's exactly what you should do. But
we're going to take your coughs out too, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jason, make sure his coughs. He came here with kidney stones and shit. Make sure you edit that. All right.
You can leave them in. I don't care.
No, whatever. I love you. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this.
All right. There you go. There you have it. I hope you loved the episode. If you did, please write a review, get out on our socials, join Patreon, support the podcast. I love you. Thanks for just being here. And if you missed out on a lot of stuff, I talk about the live podcast Inside You we're doing with Zach Levi, October 11th, 7 p.m. Don't miss that. It's going to be great at the Regent Theater in Los Angeles. Ryan, you'll be there.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
In some capacity.
I would hope so.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're figuring that out now.
Uh-huh.
Also, forgot to mention this. Sunspin, my band, is playing September 16th, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll read your messages as we're playing. Well, maybe make a song of them. There's prizes. There's Zooms. There's good music. We're going to be playing all our greatest hits from our 3 albums, the ones that are most popular to people, fans. And I hope you join us. If you haven't listened to a concert, I think you'll really enjoy it. So just get out of your comfort zone and do it. Let's go to sunspin.com. Also, if you want merch, signed Lex Smith scripts and other things, hoodies, go to the Inside of You online store and get your fun merch. There's a lot of cool stuff. And sunspin.com has an amazing amount of new merch there too. Lastly, I'm going to give the shout outs, right?
Yeah.
And these shout outs are from patrons who support the podcast in more ways than one. They don't just listen. They listen to almost every episode, if not all of them, if they're loyal listeners. And they give back to the podcast, which is unbelievable. And if you want to join them, if you like the podcast and you want to support it, because it's I feel like it's NPR. It's like you get people to kind of give to the podcast, but it's true. It's like, to keep it going, I couldn't do it without my patrons. Patreon, patreon.com/inside-of-you. Join today. Tons of perks. You'll see them, and I'll give you a shout out. And I'll also, I'll give you a shout out. I'll email you right there.
Just like that?
Yeah,
just a little.
Just like that.
Just like that. Just a little email.
Now it's time for the top tiers of the Patreon. They get the shout outs, and no particular order. They're all amazing people. Here we go. Ryan, ready?
I'm ready. I got him here.
I'll do a voice, and then Ryan has to do that impression.
It's going to be tough because my posture in this new couch is.
You don't like it?
Well, I'm trying to figure it out.
Okay.
Maybe I need the pillow. Well, you know what? I'm good now.
You're good now.
I'm good.
All right. Nancy D. Leah and Kristen.
Little Lisa, Yukiko.
Jill E. Brian H.
Nico P. Robert B.
Jason W. Sophie M.
Rasheen, Joshua D.
Jennifer N. Stacy L.
Jamal F. Janelle B.
Janelle B is
Janelle
correct.
B.
El Don Supremo. 99 more.
Santiago M. Chad W.
Leanne, Maddie S., Belinda N., Dave H., Sheila G., Brad D., Ray H., Tabitha T., Tom N.
Talia M., Betsy D., Angel M., Rhiannon C., Corey K., Dev Nexon, Michelle A., Jeremy C., Brandy D.
Joey M., Eugene and Leah, Corey Angela F., Mel S., Christine S.,
Eric H., Shane R., Andrew M., Amanda R. We doing Michael Jackson?
Jen B., Kevin B., Stephanie K., Jarrell, Jam and J, Leanne J.,
Luna R., Mike F., Stone H., Kayla, Stay Wild Moonchild,
Brian L., Kendall L., Jessica B.,
Kyle F., Marisol P. I'm out.
Kaylee J., Brian A., Ashley F., Marion Louise L., Romeo B., Veronica Q., Frank B., Jen T., Nikki L., April R., Derek N., J. D. W.
Combum, Ginger Insomniac, Rachel D., and Lorelei L.
Is that the end?
That's the end.
I didn't even have those on here.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Oh, they're on the back page?
Oh, yeah, you know what? They're on the back page. Oh, Lorelei. How are you? Good to see you. Shout out. Oh, man. Well, hey, guys, thanks so much for listening and making this podcast part of your week. And hopefully you'll continue listening. That's about it from me. Michael Rosenbaum here in the Hollywood Hills of California, Ryan.
Well, I'm Ryan. I'm here, too, in the Hollywood Hills of California.
Little wave to the camera, which is now lower.
Oh, yeah.
The camera's lower now. We have it lower. We have a different angle. Tell us if you like the new angles.
We're experimenting.
We're experimenting. The furniture's different. Give us your feedback. We'd appreciate it. And most importantly, be good to yourself. I will see you very soon. I cannot wait. Ryan, be careful of the mic stand.